Welcome to the 2024 Scottsdale Mayoral Debate hosted by the Digital Free Press. Today we have with us two candidates seeking the station of mayor this November. Of course, this November, the city of Scottsdale will be hosting a general election where a new mayor and two members of city council will be elected, whereas Jan Dubowskis won her election outright during the July primary. I would like to take a second and thank the City of Scottsdale, the Communications Department, Kelly Corset specifically, and the camera operators lending their time and talent to today's event. Today, we have with us Lisa Borowski, challenger for Scottsdale Mayor this November, and we have Dave Ortega, of course, the current mayor of Scottsdale. Ms. Borowski is a longtime Scottsdale resident, a philanthropic person in the community, and a lawyer by trade. Mr. Ortega, of course, is an architect by trade, a local business owner and longtime community steward who is seeking re-election this November. And to the left of me is the incomparable Gary Shapiro, who is serving as timekeeper. Mr. Shapiro is a local realtor, a life member of the Scottsdale Charros, and an all-around great guy. Today, we have a very simple program. We're going to have opening remarks from each of the candidates, with Mr. Ortega leading us off as incumbent. And we will have about a bank of 21 questions for our moderated portion, and then we will have closing remarks. And without further ado, I would like to introduce Mayor Ortega. You have 1 minute for your opening remarks. Thank you, sir.
Well, hello everyone. I came to Scottsdale with an architecture degree to apprentice with Benny Gonzalez, the architect who designed City Hall, this building. I got married here, and Scottsdale shaped me as an involved parent, successful businessman, Little League coach, and church and community volunteer. I shaped Scottsdale as an architect in Old Town. I served as city councilman, and after city council, I served 6 years on DRB and 6 years at the state level on the Arizona School Facilities Board, which authorized 21 new schools each year. As mayor, I have protected Scottsdale water from outsiders, and I promote conservation. I've increased funding every year for police and fire departments. I have fought short-term rentals, and we now have 5 officers to shut down party houses. Much has been accomplished and more to do in the next 4 years.
Perfect, good timing. Ms. Borowski, to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Everyone awake? I'm Lisa Borowski, and I'm thrilled to be here to speak to you today. I'm a lifelong Scottsdale resident. I've raised my beautiful daughter, Savannah, here, who's now 19 and a Wildcat. Go Wildcats. I have been a practicing attorney for 25 years. I'm a commercial litigation attorney by background and experience. I've represented thousands of homeowners across our state, recovering millions of dollars when their builders did not uphold promises, and that has been my focus my entire practice. I previously served on the City Council 2008 to 2012. It was the best professional experience of my entire career. I served on the audit subcommittee, the water subcommittee, and the Westworld subcommittee. I successfully fought for our hard-earned taxpayer dollars and reined in our budget dramatically. I'm looking forward to the discussion today and to illuminating the differences between me and my opponent and why we need a change of leadership. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lisa. All right, so we have 4 different topic areas. We have City Hall and personality.
Excuse me, Thornton, is your mic on?
Oh, I think so, yeah. Can
Okay,
you hear me
good.
okay now?
I just might move it a little closer.
Okay.
I'm used to asking people in case.
All right.
Yeah, okay,
So now we have 4 categories. We have City Hall and personality, we have public safety, we have affordable housing and development, and we have short-term rentals. And I think we'll start off with something easy. Mr. Ortega, question will start with you, is why do you support the proposed sales tax ballot measure, now coined Proposition 490, on the November ballot? Why do you support it, sir?
Sure. Well, first of all, it is all about family values. We treasure our outside spaces. We treasure our parks and preserve, and they are aging over time. Several of the parks are nearing 50 years old. Our preserve is, we're completing the acquisition of a preserve, but our 48 parks, the Green Belt and the preserve, will all need maintenance and upkeep. A study group started about 2 years ago, and they prepared a complete outline of the needs and the deficiencies. It was, all the information was held here and displayed in the Kiva. However, there were 22 public meetings that prepared the complete analysis, the financial costs and so forth. I support this measure because it is a way to use sales taxes and for the purpose of pay-as-you-go maintenance and operations, including new police and fire, as well as park rangers at our 48 parks and preserve. I urge everyone to look at the details, and the details can be found in the work study on February 27th or our own council action. It's a great way for us to protect what brings people to Scottsdale and what we enjoy in our lives.
Thank you, Mr. Ortega. Ms. Borowski, same question to you. Where do you stand on Proposition 490?
I'll be voting no on Prop 490, and the reasons why are currently all the uses or needs that the city has brought forward to the ballot are currently being funded, and there's no evidence that that will not be the case into the future. The second really important reason that I generally will oppose this or vote no on it is the way that it's been handled. It was misrepresented to the voters clearly as determined by the Court of Appeals, who found that the language that was to be sent to the voters on November 5th was objectively misleading, otherwise known as false, otherwise known as lying to the voters. At the very last minute, when my opponent was told by the Court of Appeals that the ballot measure had to be removed from the ballot because of those issues that I've just discussed, the city convened a last-minute session to fix the language. So I believe it's been misrepresented to our voters for going on a year, and I think that's a significant problem. When you're asking anyone to vote on anything in our community, it should be clear and honest, and it has not been. And thirdly, I'd like to point out that there's an existing preserve tax that expires in 2034 that is, we're being taxed $25 million a year, and that is going into the general fund, and its uses have expired. That tax could have been redirected to fund any needs that we're talking about here today, and my opponent chose not to. Just collect that revenue and collect even more.
Thank you, Ms. Borowski.
Thank you very
Sorry,
much.
that time. Mr. Ortega, you may respond.
Thank
1
you.
minute.
You know, over 2,000 people participated in the study, brought forth the measure, and to protect the things we love. Ms. Borowski never attended. She never inputted one word, didn't take 1 minute to provide any alternative. When you look at the pamphlet, you will see that DC Ranch is on board. You will see the fire department is on board, the police and so forth. Every conservation group, as well as COGS and the backers of parks and all our facilities citywide. This is why you have an opportunity for a community effort. The community effort is a sales tax. As you know, we get over 10 million visitors who are here spending money and contributing to those costs, the sales tax revenue that we need to protect and preserve our beautiful assets. So it is necessary that we do some more research and see that it's the right thing to do. Please vote for Prop 490.
Thank you, Mr. Ortega. Ms. Borowski, you may respond.
Yes, thank you very much. As a lawyer, I know you don't have to be at the scene of the crime to know what the consequences of the action were or the crime. So I don't need to have attended all the task force meetings to understand the issues very clearly, which I've outlined. The city of Scottsdale does not have a revenue problem. It has a spending problem under Mr. Ortega's watch. That is the real issue. As a fiscal conservative, I completely object to pouring more money into the hands of wasteful spenders and allowing it to continue. Thank you very much.
You may respond.
You know, when we get the Arizona Quarter Horse group saying, vote for Prop 490, when we get everybody that believes in good health, honor health, these are the spaces that we enjoy, and they will decline because the state has been stripping revenues from cities. By having a dedicated sales tax specifically for Scottsdale, what is generated here stays here in Scottsdale and can't be touched by the legislatures down in Phoenix. That's very critical. The funds are collected and would begin on July 1st of next year, and they would be reviewed as needs are presented by 2 commissions and would have to be placed in the budget as well as approved by City Council. So those are 4 levels of oversight that make Prop 490 very fiscally responsible and will get great results for our citizens.
Thank you, Mr. Ortega.
Terrence?
Ms. Bobrowski?
Sorry.
30 seconds.
I reserved 30 seconds, so thank you for noticing. I appreciate that. I just want to say on my watch, we will fund police, fire, the preserve, and parks, improve and maintain them when necessary without further raising your taxes. There are plenty of resources to do that. I've outlined a few, not to mention all the pet projects and wasteful spending that's been going on, which I believe we'll get into here today as well. And you can count on me to do that. If we ever need to raise taxes to pay our basic needs, I'll talk to you about that first, the voters of Scottsdale, and I will be honest about it.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. We do have follow-up questions, but I feel like we touched all of the topics on that one. So moving on, we're going to look at this next question, which I think is a good one and an interesting one. The most livable cities in the country have a dynamic partnership between the city and its public school system. What role do you see yourself taking in fostering and promoting the relationship between our municipality, the Scottsdale Unified School District, and the Scottsdale Community College? I believe we'll begin with Ms. Bobrowski on this one.
Thank you very much. Having just raised a young daughter and sent her off to college, I love the idea of being involved with schools. I think that from the mayor's office, I think this has been a missed opportunity since I was on council, terminating in 2012. We should be, even though, as you all know, and I think the residents know, the city does not govern or regulate or get involved in any decision-making for the Scottsdale school system. However, we can work with them and be involved with them and lobby for them, to the extent that we're advancing the goals of our city overall. And we can also enhance the protection and the safety of the campuses around the campuses, of the properties around the campuses. Things like homeless shelters in central Scottsdale do not advance the safety of our community, or homeless hotels out across the street from a school right on Pima Road. That disadvantages our schools and exposes unnecessary risk. So there are decisions within the city that we can be making or not making in this case that benefit the schools peripherally. And I am a big proponent of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Same question to you, Mr. Ortega.
Sure. The question was, how have I strengthened the relationship with the city and education partners? When I took office, I actually got the ball rolling on our general plan. That included every aspect of transportation, well-being, sustainability, and an educational element. We need that vision. That vision was approved by the city council. It was sent to the voters, and it was approved by the voters, including the education element. Ms. Borowski opposed that. That was the general plan. The general plan is a first step in defining our community relationship with one another. The second thing I did when I took office is I established a joint education committee calling the superintendent and the school district as well as the community college to meet here. I hosted that for 4 years now. And that began the very important relationship to discuss both security, after-school programs, channels and pathways for careers with the city, and the overall education element. It is vital that our police force maintain the strong contact that we have with each school complex. And I have worked very hard to make sure that our children are safe in unison with our police resources. That's the job of the mayor. That's what I take very seriously, and we do every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ortega. Do you care to respond? 1 minute.
I do. So the general plan that my opponent pushed for, that was approved, ratified, by the voters, calls for more density all around commercial corridors, which there are many, meaning more apartment complexes, urbanization centers, which now we have more of, which means more traffic. It also called for mass transit. In terms of what Mr. Ortega has outlined about the involvement with schools, I serve on the Charles Foundation Board. We're very involved in the school system in Scottsdale, and I certainly have not seen evidence of that or heard any evidence of the comments he's just discussed. And we struggle with our scores throughout Scottsdale schools, and that's a big, big issue, which I would like to become involved in really promoting the advancement on that front.
Thank you, Lisa.
Well, once again, during the entire process, when the community needs a vision and asks for input, which was the general plan, Ms. Borowski was absent, didn't participate in any way. And what she's alluding to now is incorrect. Actually, the general plan said we will not be a megalopolis. And when I took charge of that, I pushed that we will protect the Old Town and our tourist element. I'm the one who carried the petition to stop Southbridge. Southbridge would have crushed Old Town and bladed around the waterfront. Ms. Borowski refused to sign that petition. She refused to participate. The previous council backed down, and that was the beginning of the counter-surge against the opulent, excessive height and density that had been the rule during the previous administration, including Ms. Borowski. So that's how we move forward, one step at a time with consensus when everyone participates, not throws rocks after it's already been vented by the people. Thank you.
Mr. Ortega. 30 seconds, final word on this topic. Borowski.
You're going to hear a theme. It's everybody else's fault when it doesn't get done, and that's been persistent from Mr. Ortega, and you just heard a mouthful of that. Nonetheless, I was not involved in the general plan update because I opposed it, so naturally, I wasn't at the scene of the crime when I was opposing it. However, having said that, protecting Old Town, does that mean letting it deteriorate and fall apart? I haven't seen anything positive come of the protecting Old Town. It's a key and top priority for me to make that a mission to improve and embark on a beautification program that will benefit and save our Old Town and downtown area. Thank you.
One more response, Mr. Ortega.
The general plan 2035 speaks for itself. I invite everybody to look at that document. It's holistic. There is a missing General Plan 2025, Ms. Borowski was in office, and she did not get that 10-year vision done. She did not accomplish the vision for a 10-year business plan and so forth. That was a failure of that administration, and as well indicates that she's not capable of handling what we're asked to do. We're asked to unify, get input from citizens, bring it to a vote, and that's why I support Prop 490 as well, because it's brought forth by the people. by people who participate together for our own community good.
Thank you, Mr. Ortega. Thank you. Moving on. Typically, some constituents and stakeholders oppose different things and adopt an attitude known within city hallways, not in my backyard, or NIMBY. In reality, those things may be good or bad for Scottsdale. What qualities of leadership and courageousness do you possess to make the right decisions? Mr. Ortega, you lead us off with this one.
Well, first of all, we took positive action to increase the notification distance for any project. And that meant that the previous standard of about 700 feet was expanded to over 1,200 feet. That, again, involves more involvement so that a development can buffer the community, answer questions, and certainly communicate so that it can have the best project possible. One of the things we did is we changed the rules so that meetings by developers wouldn't happen at 110 degrees out in the pavement in a parking lot. Now think about that. There had been no rules that would have encouraged more input. They were actually working against citizens. In my view, as an architect, that's what I've done all my life. I have spent clients' money. I've come before council in different cities and counties, presented a project that had the best attributes that fit in that location. Scottsdale is very unique. We have a wonderful contacts with various business opportunities that can always be worked out with our community neighborhoods. I'm very concerned about noise, lighting, and other issues, and as an architect, I've dealt with them over 40 years. So we're looking for the best results possible to make lasting investments in our beautiful city.
Thank you, Mr. Ortega. Ms. Borowski, to you.
So I have a tremendous track record bringing people together, factions, if you will, in Scottsdale. 2008 to 2012, I was very much focused on that, and I'm proud to say that at the time, I don't like the term NIMBY, I think that's unnecessarily negative, but people, the slow growthers in our community and the very concerned citizens that are active in that area and those projects coming before us and do disseminate the word on that. I'm happy to be supported by them. I'm also happy to be supported by developers. I'm also happy to be supported by the equestrian industry and community. I'm also happy to be supported by Old Town merchants and gallery owners. I'm also happy to be supported by the entertainment district business owners. So what that means is I'm going to represent all factions of Scottsdale, and I will do so successfully because I know how to bring people together. Anyone in this room that knows me will agree with that. And my history as a lawyer, litigator, guess what I tell my clients? Our first strategy is how to get to mediation and resolve the problems. So I'm highly effective with that, and it was proven during my council service, and I believe we are one Scottsdale. We need to be cohesive, live together, cooperate, and when necessary, make modifications to our plans and our behavior so that our fellow residents are also enjoying their lives and quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Borowski. Do you care to respond to that?
Yes. My office has been in Old Town Scottsdale. I've done dozens and dozens of projects for small business people and always cooperated with the larger corporations. We have some of the biggest worldwide companies coming to Scottsdale. It's because we have a very positive environment that's beautiful, clean, we're safe, and above all, we're a very healthy environment. When I say that, it's because I have personal experience with these individuals and entities and how we can bond together. Not be scraped because, not destroy our tourism as the Southbridge project attempted to do, or the mega apartments that came to scrape Old Town. So I have stood up to that. Again, Ms. Borowski has been absent. She didn't show up. She doesn't show up. And that speaks to whether or not we're committed to keeping Scottsdale what we have and how we deserve to continue as a vibrant Old Town and downtown.
Thank you. Ms. Borowski, final word.
I don't know where Mr. Ortega's been, but I show up everywhere, so I don't know what he's talking about there. But nonetheless, ask any business owner or property owner trying to do business in the city of Scottsdale, and they will tell you horror stories about how difficult it is to work with this administration. In fact, most people have just given up. It takes forever to get answers. There's so much red tape, there's so much runaround, and that is not the way you treat business owners or property owners in our community. That's a big, big issue. Also, the tax hikes incessantly. Property taxes going up, sales tax now set to be asking voters to be increased. That's another way you don't deal with all the factions. The question originally was, how do you deal with no-growthers? But I think the issues I've just outlined that are failures of my opponent and persistently destructive to our community respond to what he discussed. Thank you.
30 seconds.
To be clear, Scottsdale has been declared #1 in the USA as a place for small businesses, entrepreneurs, women-owned businesses. We didn't get that way by being difficult and closing the door to business. We are #1 in the USA. This is just documented. And so the rhetoric that says that it's such a hard entry level is not true, because people are coming here, they're playing by the rules, they're respecting their neighbors, and they're keeping their businesses clean, safe, and credible. That's how we work together as a city, and that's the proof why our revenues are so strong. People come here to spend money appreciating the environment that Scottsdale has, the full package that Scottsdale has.
Thank you, Mr. Ortega. Ms. Borowski, this is the final word.
It's nice that Mr. Ortega inherited a phenomenal Scottsdale, and I completely agree with him that he did. However, the destructive policies, the destructive disposition coming out of the mayor's office, and the destructive agenda items that are being pursued will not keep us at the top of the chart to do business in. That's why I'm running for mayor of Scottsdale, to recover that course. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Borowski. Moving on to a different but similar topic. What steps, and Ms. Borowski, you're going to lead us off, what steps will be the hallmark of your tenure as mayor to represent all of your constituents and stakeholders to heal the vitriol, bring more people into the tent, and polish the cachet of a community long considered the gold standard of the Valley of the Sun?
That's a perfect segue to what I was just getting at. So, to your point, Terrence, we do need to get back focused on what has made Scottsdale great. We have a well-earned reputation as a top tier, if not the top destination in the Southwest. And we need to focus on attracting and demanding high-quality development projects, not run-of-the-mill apartment complexes as you've seen come up, not all kinds of high-rises up and down Scottsdale Road. I do not think that's the proper direction for Scottsdale. As mayor, I will be focused on demanding and encouraging high quality. I'm not against development, just to be clear. I'm very much for high quality development. We, on my watch as a fiscal conservative and having demonstrated my skill set during my term on council, we will rein in the overspending. We will not need to continue to raise your property taxes and ask you to raise sales taxes. We will bring citizens back into the discussion. I intend to make it a top priority once elected to automate, just like they did do at the state legislature, the ability for individuals in our community to appear virtually at City Hall and speak at council meetings. There's no excuse as to why we have, pick a number, 50 chairs in this room, less, and people have to go out of their way to get here, we can do this virtually. So I want to restore trust, accountability, and transparency and bring residents back to the conversation.
Thank you, Ms. Borowski. To you, Mr. Ortega.
Sure. You know, as mayor in my 4 years, I have a very positive attitude, and we have had very positive results. When we talk about increasing revenues, it's not because the tax rate went up, it's because our businesses are successful. It's because people are coming here and enjoying life. That's a great indicator of us going in the right direction. I believe that a lot of the vitriol that can occur is pretty much external. You talk to most people and they're happy about that we're a high maintenance city. If something's out of place, they're going to reach us and we're going to do something about it. That's a good thing. We expect that our sales tax dollars, our general revenue is going to get great results for us. That's what our expectations are as businesses as well. So I am out in the community a great deal. And I listen and introduce myself constantly to people in the business world. And what I'm hearing is Scottsdale is a great place. And they're not listening to the smaller blogs or other voices that may be internal. And it's interesting because from time to time I get a negative email, and it's from somebody in West Virginia or Florida. And I'm thinking, wow, you know, what we're dealing with here, we're working on every day to make Scottsdale even more vibrant. And we are a financially three-star, highest-ranked, competent city, and we have been for over 50 years. So that's how we roll.
Thank you,
we roll
Mr.
the
Ortega.
Scottsdale way, and we satisfy residents and businesses alike.
Perfect. Thank you. Ms. Borowski, to you.
Yes, I just want to point out that one of the most prevalent themes that I hear from residents in this almost year-long mayoral campaign so far is just how much their voices are not heard at City Hall. You can just tune in, go to what he said was a smaller blog, savescottsdale.com, to see plenty of videos of this, and I encourage you to do so. Mr. Ortega is constantly captured or recorded telling people at the podium to sit down, this isn't on the agenda, you will be escorted out, and also telling his fellow council members, don't ask about these topics because it's not on the agenda. And they make really good points like, why are we having these 1,000% increases in capital improvement projects? So don't dare say anything that doesn't comport with what Mr. Ortega wants to hear, because you will not be listened to. I can assure you of that. And it's so widespread. I'm shocked he either doesn't know that, can't be that out of touch. But I encourage you to look at that website.
Thank you, Ms. Borowski. Mr. Ortega, 30 seconds to respond.
You know, Scottsdale is a great city because we make it that way. We own it. We own our parks. We respect our police. We look for improvements. If there's a problem, we want to hear about it. And that's how we grow and improve as a city. Scottsdale is the most desirable city in the United States. And that's not just my opinion. We rank #1 for parks and recreation, #1 for business life, #1 for education and attainment. We have our schools attain double what the average attainment is in Arizona. All that added together, bring our job as council, not just mayor, credit the council, to move forward and continue to listen and not fall into a hole or abyss of negativity.
Thank you, Mr. Ortega. Quick.
Next.
10 seconds. 10 seconds. I failed to mention that part of my approach to civility and collaborativeness begins with my colleagues on the council. There isn't one either incoming potential council member in the general election or existing, except for Solange, that I have not had a coffee with or lunch with, and I intend to collaborate on that level
Ms.
as well.
Borowski.
Thank you.
State law requires that you stick to the subject that's on the agenda, and I follow state law. Go ahead.
Okay. Robert's Rules of Orders. Yes, okay. So now we're going to have individualized questions, just one for each, and let's do 1-minute responses. The first one for you, Mr. Ortega. What will be different about a second term as mayor than your first term that you've just completed?
Well, several things. For instance, we will be opening a new police training and fire academy, actually next month. When I took office, the police and fire were underpaid, and the facilities were really substandard. I've taken that to a new level as mayor. We have funded these necessities because they keep our police and fire safe. We're also adding new fire stations. We're adding 2 new parks next year. But another major thing that you'll hear about as far as an accomplishment, when Prop 490 passes, we will have more police and fire responding to our pocket park, our preserve, and other areas. That's important for us, for our own safety. We will feel more secure because if we hold a birthday party in a Ramada, it's going to be first class. And that's how we take care of things. We have to follow through on what people vote on and make sure that we have the best outcome so that we are very livable.
Thank you, Mr. Ortega. Lisa, question for you specifically. Running for office is different than serving in office, which you have already done. What is it about you that will make you an effective community leader and mayor of Scottsdale?
Thank you. I've talked quite a bit about that in a couple of the prior responses. So I will be a leader of the city in a direction that benefits all residents to the extent possible. And where there are vulnerabilities in that idea, I will bring residents together, as I've done in the past during my council service, and I will work to collaborate with them to find a middle ground, which is the key to what they both want to accomplish. I believe that as a leader, you lead by example, and getting into conversations or into the community is very, very important, and working to make the city more efficient, more livable, with less taxes, more accountability, more transparency, well, a lot more transparency. Also, as a lawyer, I will not continue to let us get exposed to all the legal troubles we've seen. Recently, $5.2 million judgment, trial verdict, that now, as taxpayers, another wasted amount of money, $5.2 million, not to mention probably the $500,000 that was spent on outside attorneys for that. And because you weren't honest with the voters about Prop 490, now the city was sued for that as well, another couple of $100,000 that the taxpayers have, that Mayor Ortega has wasted on behalf of all of us.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. You may respond to that.
I will continue to protect Scottsdale water assets. When people work for the city to provide water to our city, it will not be stripped away to outlying areas. We were sued over that by the people who had no water rights in Scottsdale. Ms. Borowski sides with the people that sue us. The same thing's happening when we have a ballot measure. The ballot measure is on the ballot, and she will continue to pick at legal issues when it's the people's choice. We're going to make the choice of either letting things deteriorate or stepping up and taking care of them. That's what Scottsdale expects. The voters expect that. We don't need lawyers to lawyer on and delay because they are not prepared when the decisions are made. They don't show up until afterwards and try to build a case against our own city.
Thank you, Mr. Ortega. Last comment on this.
Really quick. I don't want the answer to this, but I don't know who's referring to. I sided with the people that sued them. I don't even know the people that sued them.
Yes.
In any event, anyone that was involved in that Rio Verde water crisis will tell you Mr. Ortega was a detriment and really caused more trouble than it was worth for his involvement. And in terms of being a lawyer, yes, I'm prepared to do the job and keep the city out of more legal trouble. And as an architect, as he promised, he has not kept the 2019 bond projects on budget. In fact, they're over $115 million over budget,
Thank you,
as
Ms.
is every
Borowski.
other capital
Okay.
project
We're gonna move-
on his watch.
We're going to move into public safety now. It is no secret recruitment totals are historically low in the first responder community. And as struggles continue with recruitment, how can you, as a member of City Council, the figurehead as mayor, support the men and women of the local first responder community? I believe, Mayor Ortega, you lead us off with this one,
Yes.
please. Thank you.
You know, before I took office, in fact, I took office during the pandemic. When the pandemic was peaking, there was a lot of uncertainty. There was uncertainty about our water resources. And our first responders continued through the pandemic. Half of them became ill, and they continued to serve and protect our city. When I became mayor, we reevaluated their roles and increased their compensation. Why? Because it was difficult to recruit and retain the best, and we were losing officers. Since I become mayor, we have increased the compensation, the technology, and the training that keep our community safe. It's most important. It's the first role and a core role of our city. At the present time, as I mentioned, we are opening an amazing police training facility and a new fire academy. Previously, we were working out of a double wide, and I attribute that to prior estimates and so forth. Ms. Borowski mentioned the bond 2018. That was grossly underestimated by the previous administration. In spite of that, we have gotten the job done so that these buildings will help our police and fire to cross-train and stay safe themselves and protect our community. That's what being mayor is about, not bickering about some budget that may have been sorely underestimated 6 years ago.
Thank you, Mr. Ortega. Ms. Borowski, to you.
I just want to start by bickering over close to $150 million of overruns. I'm not sure that's a bicker. That's an issue. In any event, if there's been so much support for our police, why hasn't the Police Association endorsed Mr. Ortega? They endorsed Linda Milhaven, who is no longer in this race, and I'm hoping to get their endorsement moving forward, although it's kind of last minute. But in any event, I was always endorsed by the police previously, and I am proud to be a huge supporter and of fire, and they all know that. I recently met with the Police Association, and it was very shocking to see that we rank in pay below Apache Junction. According to their statistics, we're 8th of the large municipalities that are studied in the compensation and benefits arena. We need to up our game. Scottsdale is an incredibly special city, and we need to attract the highest and the best and retain them. And I would like to work on programs, look into programs that include how do we get our first responders that want to live in our community, how do we help them do that as a city and a community? I think that's very important. And I will work with them to advance our public safety. It is my #1 priority. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Response to you, 1 minute.
Well, my opponent is really incorrect. The FOP Police, Scottsdale FOP, and the Scottsdale Fighters endorse me. And that's a fact. And they endorse me because we have a level of trust. You may know I married into a law enforcement family. My father was the police chief of Scottsdale, Arizona. His last project before he retired was the Via Linda headquarters. The Via Linda headquarters is now over 30 years old. Since then, and under my leadership, the Real-Time Crime Center has been installed at that building. It's brought the latest technology, the drones that allow the first responders not to be, well, to not have any blind spots. Those drones are operating for our safety. On the other hand, there are some troubled spots in Scottsdale where law and order seem to be a problem. We had a shooting at a short-term rental recently, last weekend, and the police had to be there. They are protecting us, and that's a major problem I'd also like to talk about, because I have led the fight against short-term rentals rather than my opponent, who seems to be funded by the short-term rental.
Thank you, Mr.
people.
Ortega.
Thank you.
Mr. Ortega. Ms. Borowski, close this one out for us.
I just want to clarify, the Scottsdale Police Officers Association is referred to as POSA, and they are the major police officers association that has not endorsed my opponent. Thank you.
Moving on.
Stay tuned.
Moving on, but staying in public safety, just recently, the Scottsdale Police Department announced its deployment of drone technology to help local police officers protect the community. It has been widely reported that in a matter of seconds upon deployment, a drone could be at the scene of an accident or crime. What do you think of this kind of technology being deployed in Scottsdale, and how far is too far regarding police and technology? Ms. Borowski, to you.
Thank you. It's a fascinating new technology and concept, and I believe we should use all the resources at our disposal to ensure and protect our public safety without imposing on individual freedoms and individual rights. So much like everything else in the universe, the advancement of technology, AI, any type of technology that does potentially intrude into those two areas, personal rights and individual freedoms, we have to be very, very careful. So I believe the safe answer and the competent answer is time will tell, and we have to be very careful how we are using these very effective tools. Thank you.
Last week, I toured the Real-Time Crime Center, and it was amazing. On the screen was a operation to clear a middle school. And those cameras in our schools are interlaced and interconnected with instantaneous response from our PD. There are 5,000 cameras in Scottsdale, and many of them are intersections, but about 50% of them are voluntarily interlaced by banks, businesses, hotels, people that have concerns about whether or not there's human trafficking at a hotel or a counter. And they have voluntarily allowed their premises to be available. It's not switched on all the time, only if they press the panic button. That is one way that Scottsdale has brought technology to our safety. It means a lot, it works, and it employs drones and other things that will keep our personnel safe. They won't turn the wrong corner and get ambushed. So it's very important, it's a vital part, and I am totally for the implementation. We will continue to monitor its success.
Thank you, Mr. Ortega. Ms. Borowski, do you care to respond? No. Okay,
No,
moving
thank
on.
you.
All right. Mr. Ortega, we start with you.
Sure.
We have 10 minutes left, so I will be tighter with time, okay?
Yeah.
Do you think Scottsdale is doing enough to address homelessness? If not, what more could be done? Question to you.
Okay, Scottsdale relies on our nonprofit partners, navigators, and we, so that they can identify people on the street. In particular, our social workers work to prevent homelessness. Why? Because the squeeze on apartments and homes are pushing honest Scottsdale families out of their homes or apartments. We have been very successful with our nonprofit partners, and that's the way we can, identify the needs before they become homeless. Scottsdale also, we also have chronically homeless people, and they are in particular under a different healthcare system through the county, and there again, that's on a referral basis. Scottsdale does not have our own clinics. We don't treat people. We don't provide meds or medical advice. That's done by the county. The first response that we have is with a police interacting team. They approach an individual in civilian clothes, they talk to them, and they understand what their predicament is. The most important thing to say is this: our business people, the people who live near parks, tell me, do something, Mayor Ortega, and we are doing it. We're doing it in a cost-efficient way. We're helping to redirect people as necessary, and we have about an 85% success rate.
Thank you, Mr. Ortega. Thank you, Mr. Ortega. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Ms. Borowski, to you.
Thank you. First, I'd like to say I'm very sympathetic to the homelessness situation. You know, with these record heats, it's just tragic to see people on the streets, in dangerous conditions, asking for money on the side of the road. Many times I see people with babies and baby strollers on the entrance to the 101 or at busy intersections, and it's heartbreaking. So turning to what the city of Scottsdale should be doing and versus what they are doing. Currently, the mayor brags about frequently, he's got $10 million earmarked for the biggest regional homeless shelter. I think it's the only regional homeless shelter or homeless shelter in Scottsdale's history, which would be just south of Old Town Scottsdale. I don't think that's a good use of funds. I don't think that's the right direction for Scottsdale. We've talked about the homeless hotel, 10 rooms at an operating hotel room over on Indian Bend and Pima, across the street from a charter school. That's not the right direction for Scottsdale. And by the way, those rooms per room cost $3,500 a month to have whomever come stay in with no accountability, no screening, no collateral services. Really a bad idea. And not the way we should be going. I want to point out that the Goldwater Institute did a study, $180 million Phoenix threw at homelessness in 4 years. Homelessness rose 92% during that same period of time. What does that tell you? We need to find a regional solution. I will, as mayor, work with nonprofits and collaborate with the county and the state and our sister cities to identify a realistic problem that is a resolution, not just a Band-Aid.
Thank you, Ms. Borowski. 1 minute to you, Mr. Ortega.
Yes, my opponent doesn't realize we've never proposed a hotel, a homeless hotel. We've never proposed public housing owned by the city. And I say that because we do provide lodging. There are 5 rooms provided for lodging on an emergency basis out of 10,000 hotel rooms in the city. And my opponent continues to berate our hospitality business by saying that somehow 5 rooms or 10 rooms is going to overturn all the goodwill that we have in our city, in our hospitality business. It's a fact that practically every church or synagogue will give a voucher to a homeless person. Somebody that they have interviewed, and someone who has lost their job and by misfortune has lost their home. These are ways we approach things in a compassionate way. It's also done, I might remind you, as a council. And as a council, we put $10 million into the budget of $2.5 billion to try to break through and provide some reasonable, cost-effective answers.
Thank you, Mr. Ortega. Ms. Borowski, final word.
out of all those words that we just heard, I think he confirmed that the city of Scottsdale, is operating homeless hotel rooms in Scottsdale. And I also believe he confirmed that there are monies earmarked for a homeless shelter. So thank you.
Moving on to short-term regulations. Short-term rentals, excuse me. Thank you, Gary. Earlier this year, Scottsdale City Council approved new regulations to help corral unruly short-term rental operators within municipal limits. Do you think the Scottsdale City Council made a good decision, and do these regulations go far enough? I believe, Mr. Ortega, we will start with you on this one.
Okay. Well, thank you. Upon taking office, I asked and I learned that there were 4,300 short-term rentals in Scottsdale. Only 300 were registered. They were running wild for 4 years. I went to the legislature. We enacted rules. They enacted a statute that permitted us to start to regulate the short-term rentals. With that, we can do more, but the City of Scottsdale is the leader on enforcement of short-term rental violations. We expect them to exclude sex predators. We expect them to enclose their pool. We expect them to pay their taxes. They had not paid taxes for 4 years. Imagine that. If you want to open a cookie store, you pay taxes. But this group was permitted to run free. There's more to do. Our council funded and authorized 5-member police squad to crack down on short-term rental parties. As I mentioned earlier, there was a shooting just last weekend. The police had to get a search warrant to go in. They found illegal fireworks. They found violations of several things, and they were all cited, and they will be brought to justice. That's how we send the signal, and it starts at the top with our city council making the most firm rules and enforcing it with our police.
Thank you, Mr. Ortega. Ms. Borowski, to you.
Thank you. So with all that, short-term rentals appears to be just as big of an issue and a problem in our community as it was this time 4 years ago when my opponent said he was going to resolve that issue. Notwithstanding, I do believe, like any other area of our community, there appears to be about 10% bad actors in the short-term rental market. And I think we need to we need to use the laws that are on our books and enhance and increase penalties for bad actors cumulatively. And the way that I believe that you do that is you assess fines and you assess fines against both parties, the people in the residence and the people that own the residence or the corporations, and you make it really hurt financially to continue to be one of those bad actors. And I think that's really how you get to the root of the problem. Neighborhood advisory commissions I advocated for previously. I'm an advocate for those. Get like a block watch. Remember those days we had block watches, right? Have a neighborhood captain and really get involved in who those bad actors are and really start holding them accountably financially.
Mr. Ortega, that's all
I
the time.
do believe in property rights.
Move into your closing
and
remark with
our
this
own
response
residents.
as well, okay?
Thank you.
Please, thank you.
Okay, we do believe in property rights, and the homeowners and the neighborhoods that have lived there deserve peace and quiet. I will continue as mayor, and I pledge to continue to work to stop the behavior and the proliferation of short-term rentals. The fact is, my opponent does accept money from the short-term rental lobbyists. She has. It's a fact. Goldwater and these other people have contributed to her campaign. The lobby is very strong at the state level. It's hard to break through, but I have been there every session fighting with other cities to restore our rights as homeowners, our rights as neighborhoods, and that we must protect our neighborhoods. We will continue to increase funding for the enforcement of the violators and certainly they are and can be a center of crime in our city, and we have the facts to show that we must continue and be vigilant.
Thank you, Mr. Tiggett. Ms. Borowski, 1 minute left. It's on you.
Is this closing?
This is
Okay,
closing.
no response to that. All right. My opponent, he will talk a lot about how much he enjoys being mayor, and there's no question about that. I believe that that's accurate. But being mayor is a privilege. It's also a responsibility. It's not just appearing at all the best events and photo opportunities. So, having said that, let me illuminate a couple of key issues. I've talked about the reckless spending and the increase in taxes and the increase in, we've talked about the increase in resident dissatisfaction. Those are the responsibilities that come with being mayor, being in the community, in the weeds on decision-making with the parties that are vested and most affected. On my watch, I will demand higher quality development projects. We will right the ship, get back on the right track with Scottsdale, respecting our rich history, our residents, our quality of life, and preserve and protect our future as the #1 tourism destination in the country, or at least in the Southwest. And we do that by keeping our eye on the ball, keeping focused on what made Scottsdale special, our residents, our quality of life, and a very high-quality community. Thank you.
Lisa.
Thank you
Mr.
for
Ortega,
listening.
I'm sorry, 30 seconds. Please be quick.
Thank you.
Yes, you may.
Yes, I want to emphasize one thing. I have always worked with small businessmen and entrepreneurs. And one of the joys of being an architect for all these decades is that my client and myself and the mayor was standing in between at their grand opening. And that's a joyful experience. That's what I promote as mayor. I will make it easy to do business in Scottsdale. We will praise people who generate money for our city. And now I'm mayor. I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle of the entrepreneur and the designer as we move forward as a beautiful, beautiful city.
Thank you. 30 seconds.
Thank you so much. We talked about so much today. I didn't talk about some top priorities, one of which is really looking at improving Old Town and downtown Scottsdale. I think that's a missed opportunity, and I will make that one of my top initiatives to get a group together with the merchants, the residents, and really advance our downtown and Old Town area. In addition, you can count on me to take charge and really do my best to restore the Citizens Budget Commission, which we had on during my council term. That was my initiative with other colleagues and Mayor Lane, who's endorsed me. And we will rein in the budget. We will cut the fat. We will identify waste. We will not let these huge overruns occur. We will not tolerate them. In the paper again today, the Scottsdale Road Project North, tripling the budget, the estimated budget. So we should not accept this any further. We can do better. This has been a failure.
Thank you, Ms. Borowski. Okay, we are out of time. I hope we got through enough questions. I'm Terrence Thornton, founder of the Digital Free Press, digitalfreepress.com. And thank you very much for the candidates for showing up. Thank you very much for you guys attending. Thank you.
Thank you.